son is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We've got all your race action from Richmond International Raceway for the Toyota Owners 400.
They say Virginia is for lovers, but it's going to be an unrequited love for all but one driver come Sunday. The Richmond International Speedway is a 3/4-mile short track that promotes a lot of side-by-side racing action. This week, the race will take place over 400 laps. Our stage breaks will be at lap 100, lap 200, and then they'll do battle to the finish at lap 400.
This track is rich in NASCAR history since 1953, making it one of the few older tracks on the circuit. Since 2012, which is 10 races, Toyota has won 50% of those races, Ford has won 3 races, and Chevy has won 2 races. JGR has won the last 3 races consecutively at Richmond, and 7 out of the last 10 winners started in the top 10 here at Richmond. The winner has started in the top 5 in the last 5 consecutive races, including 2 1-to-1 winners.
And after a soggy weekend last week, we have less than 20% chance of rain when we go racing Sunday, April 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern on the network of Fox. But before we get into the race talk, we need to acknowledge something that happened this weekend in the NASCAR community, and that is Liehr was actually right about a Rain Man prediction. Dale Jr. announced his retirement. And if you watched the first show of the year, Liehr told you about it. So let's talk about what that means to you guys a little bit and what Dale's meant to you guys in the sport. A-Dub, start us off, man.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. definitely holds a special place in my heart as a NASCAR fan. As a little kid, I grew up being a Jeff Gordon fan, and that was my grandpa's favorite driver. But eventually I started to form my own opinions. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is really the first driver that I picked on my own to be my favorite driver. And from elementary school until, the time he's retiring, Trevor Bayne is my new favorite driver a few years ago, way back in 2009, 2010, was because I knew this day was coming one day. And I just want to say thanks, Dale, for all that you've done for this sport. You've made a huge impact on everyone in the sport and all the race fans. And I'd say my favorite memory of Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in May of 2015. I had the opportunity to be there at Talladega when he won the Geico 500. And just seeing Dale Earnhardt Jr. win is something I always wanted to do as a child. And I'm glad I got to see him win in person before his career was over. But thanks for the ride, Dale. You've had an awesome career, and I respect you so much.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you never want to see one of the legends, finally walk out and say that they're done. But, as he talked about in his conference this week, he's going out on his own terms, which every athlete, regardless of the sport, they want to make that decision and not have that decision made for them, regardless if that's the team or, some sort of injury or something telling them that they have to do that. And, obviously the concussions are probably a small portion of his decision, but also too, getting married last year. I'm sure his wife has a little bit to do with it, but I mean, the guy's been doing it for so long. He's had a really good career. I don't know if he's quite lived up to, possibly the expectations that are thrust upon him based on, his father and the Earnhardt name. But he's definitely been one of the main staples of NASCAR for the last handful of years, and the sport just wouldn't be the same without him. And he's definitely a good guy for sure. I look forward to seeing him this year here at Kansas and hopefully watch him win here. Because like A-Dub just said, I'd love nothing more than to see him win a race live in person. But, congratulations to you, Dale, and thank you for all that you do for NASCAR and the sport. And I know for sure that you're not going to be stepping away completely. You're still going to be involved in the sport in some other avenues and other aspects. But thank you for all that you've done and all that you're going to do. And I truly appreciate you and your 88 team. And I work for a particular company that is a sponsor of that team, and it's always been a pleasure to have you as the driver. And it's been amazing to watch you start as a young driver and develop into a man and see who you've become. And congratulations, and I wish you nothing but the best, sir.
You guys pretty much covered it from a historical and like NASCAR perspective. I don't know that a driver's had more pressure put on him and or been in such a difficult position, at least not in our adult life. And it's been very interesting to watch. And man, you've had an awesome career, and congratulations on the retirement. And hopefully we can see some wins this season and get him into the chase and like send him out the right way, at least like competing for the chase. I think that would be awesome and make the NASCAR community really happy to be able to see him go out on running for the top like that. That would be great. But now that we're past that somber moment, it's time to burn some rubber, baby. Liehr, kick us off.
Let's see if we got it this morning, boys. Burning rubber Richmond style, baby!
The morning voice crack. Well done. A-Dub.
I'm going to take Kyle Larson this week. Kyle Larson is the hottest driver on the NASCAR circuit, so there's no way I wasn't going to play this guy on the show this week. If there's people out there telling you to fade Kyle Larson, it's simply because of his price tag, and then they're still wrong even because of that. The guy is starting 18th this weekend, which is a nice change of pace because it seems like the past 5 times he's been on the pole. So it's a different kind of standpoint to look at DraftKings from this weekend. If you're looking at the qualifying order, you have a little more to look at because we actually got to qualify this week. He's just simply the hottest driver on the circuit, like I said. In 2017, his average finish is 6.73. In 2017, he also has finishes of second or better in 6 of the last 7 races. Unprecedented. Like, that is unbelievable. Kyle Larson is really just hitting his stride this year. There's really not much more I can say about it. He was a runner-up here at Richmond the last time that they were here. I think the same success is going to carry over from the 18th starting position. I'm playing him because he's a place differential play, but the reason that it makes him so much more of an enticing place differential play is because he does have that high upside to set fastest laps and laps led. And Richmond's a similar track to Bristol if you look at how much they use the brakes. That's pretty much the only thing that you can compare. But if you look at the short tracks and you look at a team that has a good brake package, that's generally going to continue to all the races. So with Kyle Larson being so competitive last week, and it's just going to keep going up from here, I think. I think that if you're going to fade Kyle Larson, I think you just don't want to win any money this weekend. He may not be the best play on the board, but if you're looking for a dominator that's going to get you place differential at the same time, he's the perfect combination of both of those things. So I'm going to be playing Kyle Larson this weekend, and I'm not going to be fading away from it. I think that Kyle Larson's the guy you want to have on your team, simply put.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting play, A-Dub, from this perspective this weekend at Richmond. Like you talked about, it's finally nice to actually have a race to where we've got qualifying and we've got happy hour and everything else to take a look at and look at the 10-lap averages and even higher. But as far as Larson goes this weekend, last weekend at Bristol with him starting on the pole, he got a ton. You had to have him in your lineups last week because he was the main point getter from all those laps led. But he's not going to have that opportunity this week, starting from the 18th position. Now, later on in the race, he could be leading some laps depending on his strategy. But this week he kind of is turned a little bit different to where he's more of a place differential play, like you stated. But with that in mind, though, that means that his ceiling for fantasy points isn't going to be quite possibly as high, depending on where he finishes the race. I mean, if you in your race vision, if you think that he's going to win, and by the second segment being down there at 200, if hopefully he's up at the front by then. But the big indicator is going to be today, people out there, the second practice and then also happy hour to see where his long runs and his times are, if he's faster than everybody else, because then, like AW said, he's going to obtain those fastest laps and then get up to the front and get those laps led. So, but at his price tag this week, though, $10,300, he's the third highest costing guy on the board. Just makes it a little difficult. That means that you are hitching your wagon to the number 42 team this weekend if you are putting him on your lineups. And he's probably going to become with a very high ownership percentage just based off of last week's production. But also, too, other people are going to see, well, he's starting from that 18th spot, so he's going to get some place differential as well. But, average start here at at Richmond is 8.2 with an average finish of 11.3. And he's only got one top 5 here, and that was last year, the last race that he raced here. He went second to second, and he only led 15 laps. So, and he was right there up front. So I'm not really sold on Larson this weekend, but I mean, to say, unequivocally that I'm going to have zero exposure, that's not correct. I'm definitely going to. I'm just not going to have a ton of him.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Like, if you're fading him, you're pretty much doing it on a contrarian-only basis. But, guys, I don't know that you want to fade Larson. I think that the place differential and the propensity to lead laps is great. The other thing is Liehr, I love all the old data about Larson, but just like Truex last year, throw out all the old data. I don't think it matters with how Chip got nasty this year racing-wise. And they are just tearing stuff up. And I design at least several of your lineups with Larson in them as part of a core. If you're playing multiple lineups, if you're not doing it right this year. That's just how good that team is. All right.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say, Sean, like, if we're talking about burning rubber and you're not going to mention the guy who's finished in the top 2 in 6 of the last 7 races, that's just not doing it justice to this segment on the show. So,
oh yeah.
I mean, if anyone's really wondering what the real reason behind picking Kyle Larson, that has a little bit to do with it.
Well, and think of how monumental this run that they're on is. I mean,
yeah.
It compares to the Truex run last year and the year before that Kyle Busch run to get him into the playoffs. Those kinds of runs are amazing, and they rarely happen. And we've seen one each season so far, like in the last 3 years. This is just crazy. Yeah. My question is, how long is this ride going to last? Like,
right.
Is it just that they figured out this aerodynamics package, and so for the entire year they're just going to smack people around?
I think that come the summer months when they go to tracks like you look at Pocono and Sonoma and a lot of those harder tracks, I think that's where you're really going to be able to tell where this team is standing at. I think they'll be able to have success in Michigan. They race there a lot during the summer. But I really think that tracks like Pocono and Sonoma, with the tracks that are so hard to hit the setup, I think we'll really find out what this team's made of at those tracks.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Liehr, who you got burning rubber for us this week, bud?
Well, if my hat is any indicator, but I'm going to be going to my favorite guy. I'm going to be going Martin Truex Jr., the 78 team. I mean, they just continued the 2017 season on a high note with a great race last week at Bristol, which all of you know I picked him going to the garage. And, I always love to be honest with, the viewers on the show. But, I mean, obviously the data was there to say, okay, this is the correct play is to not play him because based on his history at Bristol. And, Poppa predicted that it was correct, and he was a must-own last week as he scored 105 points. And currently he's averaging 54.4 fantasy points per race and ranks second, only behind the guy we just talked about, Kyle Larson, who's averaging 55.3 points. But this week his cost is 9th highest at 9,100. So the 78 team starts this weekend from the 3rd position, and Truex has some very good recent results here at Richmond. This track is a smaller track, obviously, than the cookie-cutter 1.5-mile tracks that Truex absolutely loves. But this type of track kind of is very similar to those layouts of the track. It's not, as restricted and small as Bristol was last week. It's a little bit more spread out. But he was the very fastest. He was the fastest car in the first practice, and in his last 2 races here, he started 22nd and finished 9th, and the other one he started 6th and finished 3rd. But also led 193 laps, and that was the last race that they had here. So make sure that you're watching practice today. But if he keeps up with the fastest laps and his 10 to 20 lap averages are really, really strong, he's definitely going to be a must-play this weekend for me and should be for you guys out there too. Because my race vision is, I know Kenseth is starting on the pole with Ryan Blaney starting 2nd, but I only think that's going to last for maybe the first 10 to 15 laps, and then once they start getting some heat into those tires, I think Truex is just going to get up to the front and stay up there. So he's definitely going to lead laps. He's going to have a great shot at his first win at Richmond this weekend. So my recommendation, boys, is and girls, is make sure you get 78 in your lineups this weekend.
Yeah, dude, I have zero problems with the Truex play this week. He is criminally underpriced at 9,100, in my opinion. I don't remember DraftKings ever pricing him that low in recent play history. And to be honest, when I was putting together lineups, I had zero problems putting Truex with another Dominator on the lineup and getting all the other place differential guys I wanted. It's not difficult to find a way to put him on the lineup, and I think it's the right move this week. It's a shorter track. It's not a short track, and it runs a lot like the 1.5 mile tracks, which is what Truex started down, has continued to do well at this year. So I love the play, Liehr. Good work. A-Dub, your thoughts?
I agree with both of you guys. I think that once the race really starts getting going, like Jamie said, once the tire pressures come up, Matt Kenseth might lead the first 10, 15 laps. But, to make everyone upset, everyone's going to have him probably 25, 30% because they see starting on the pole. But they don't realize how fast that 78 team is. And I've seen how these things work when the 78 team's starting in the top 5. They'll be up there and they'll pass Matt Kenseth for the lead, and then they'll set sail just like they did it many, many other times this year. So if you're asking me if it's a question of Matt Kenseth or Martin Truex Jr., I'm going to take Martin Truex Jr. every single time.
Agreed. All right. Now it's time for my burning rubber pick. And, guys, I've been on a little bit of a streak picking the same guy. So we're going to do something a little bit different this week. And I'm not going to sit here for another week and tell you to play the most expensive driver at $10,600. I'm not going to sit here and talk up a driver who might be statistically the best driver on this track. And I'm not going to talk about how it is his best track. I won't tell you to play his 4 wins, his 15 top 5s in 20 races, or the 1,000+ laps that he's led here. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to tell you to play him because apparently when I do it, jinxes him. Because this is what we've been on the past few weeks, and it's gotten ridiculous. So what I'm going to do with you guys this week is
Don't
I'm going
say
to
his name.
I'm not jinxing it. Like we're not. Like,
Okay.
Like if you can't figure it out from the 10,600 price tag, like raise your hand. Liehr will come over and hit you over the head with a tack hammer.
You are an idiot.
All right, so what I'm going to do, guys, is give you the most sure pick that I can't even screw up, and that is Austin Dillon to burn some rubber this week at 7,400. And this will also be my cheapest burning rubber pick ever, right? He's starting last. He can't lose you any points, right? Like, unlike that other unnamed driver that I won't talk about that went negative 18 points last week, Austin Dillon can't do that to you. It's impossible. He starts last, and he'll almost instantly gain 15+ place differential points. And the real reason why I'm telling you to play him, guys, is if we didn't talk about it, we wouldn't be doing justice to you as a fantasy player. He should be 100% owned this week. He won't be. My guess is he'll be somewhere around 60 to 65. And that means you're taking advantage of 35 to 40% of the field. And, guys, it's just the right play. I understand he doesn't have his crew chief. There's all sorts of weird things going on. That car is still better than at least 15 cars in the field and will easily move up. And it's a free square.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you about Austin Dillon. I think that, starting last, I think that he's just the perfect DraftKings play. I wish he was a little bit more concerned about his racing career than he was about his acting career. Maybe he'd want to run around the track a little bit faster. For some reason this weekend he just doesn't seem like he wants to go fast because I think his qualifying lap was an average of 89 miles an hour. I know he's trying to save his tires, but, if you're an Austin Dillon fan, that's kind of disappointing if you show up and buy a ticket for qualifying and you just see your guy roll around there and qualify last. But, I mean, with Austin Dillon starting last, he is a free square. His ownership percentage on DraftKings this weekend should be 90%. So, I mean, if you're not playing Austin Dillon, you're really not trying to find a value play, or you just didn't look at the qualifying order. And I will say to comment on the other guy that Sean was talking about, the best part about him is, no, I'm not going to say it. I was going to make a joke about M&M's. You know what they say about they don't melt in your hand, but I won't say it.
Don't press the luck, dude. Don't press the luck.
No, I'm totally with you there. I think it's definitely a free square this weekend, and I mean, see other shows or tweets or anything from other NASCAR people in the community, they're going to tell you the same thing. I mean, Austin Dillon's just an absolute lock this weekend. Now, granted, if you are a multi lineup player, you need to make sure that you do a couple of fades, but that's just in case there's a very small percentage that doesn't play off because, like Poppa already talked about, I mean, he can, all he can do is get you a 0. So, you know, it's one of those things where he won't make you go negative, and he's only got one way to go, and that's up. So, but I am right there with you, A-Dub, when you talk about, he just doesn't look like he's that enthused or enthralled right now.
No.
Involved in the sport, and it just makes you wonder what's going on behind the scenes there. But but yeah, he's had a kind of a rough start to the 2017 season, but hopefully this weekend, good showing here at Richmond will give that team, the number 3 team, a boost. But as far as that other driver, I'm definitely going to have some exposure this weekend, because only so many wrongs turns into a right. And in this situation, you know, so many lefts will turn into a win. So I say, yeah, be all over that.
Perhaps us not mentioning him will do the trick.
He who shall not be named.
Right. He who shall not be named. Oh, yeah. No, guys. Oh, and about the Austin Dillon thing, guys, he wanted to save his tires, and he knew he was qualifying last. I think he was doing us DraftKings players a favor.
He knows about what he was doing on DraftKings, but I'm just more concerned about he was too busy filming that scene for that TV show or that movie or whatever he had going on.
Dude,
Yeah.
Maverick goes to Hollywood, son. Relax. All right. Well, as I found you some value in the Burning Rubber segment, I think we'll need a little bit more to throw in guys with the likes of Larson. So let's go ahead and Truex is cheap enough that you really don't need too much more value. But let's go ahead and get some value plays. A-Dub, who you got for us this week, bud?
Trevor Bayne, boys. You know I'm going to keep riding Trevor Bayne. If he qualifies bad, I'm going to play him. He's starting in 29th this week. He costs $6,800. And this is probably the lowest that you'll see Trevor Bayne qualify when he doesn't have a problem in qualifying. They just really didn't hit it in qualifying. And when they went out for their first lap, they were just too tight. And they didn't have enough time to get back out there, which really helps us for playing him on DraftKings this weekend. I think that team will really work on that car today, and they'll get it right for this weekend. I easily see a top 15 out of Trevor this weekend. He has 30 DraftKings points in every start this season. He has finishes this season of 10th, 12th, 13th, 19th, 23rd, 13th, 13th, and 11th. So 15 finishes, then you're going to be golden, and he's going to really pay off his price tag. And even if you get a 23rd place finish, which has been his worst finish this year, you're still getting 6 positions better than his qualifying spot this weekend. And that's just the kind of value you want to try to find. And, you know, you can't get too greedy and think that 6 isn't a lot. So I think if you could get a top 20 out of Trevor, that's going to be what you want. And I think a top 20, you know, late 20s would be disappointing for this team. So with their consistency, they have an average finish of 12.67 this year. It's in the first practice earlier this weekend. I just see this team really heading in the right direction, and I think that they're going to make a lot of changes. Matt Pusha and the team will get this car running right, and I look for a top 15 out of Trevor Bayne tomorrow.
I mean, not only this team, bro, but what about the Jack Roush team in general? I mean,
oh yeah. Also, I do want to say that Trevor Bayne is carrying it's chassis number 1,000 this weekend that Roush Fenway has created. So all of the Roush Fenway employees signed the hood of Trevor's car.
Even better. But yeah, I'm right there with you, brother. This weekend, I love the Trevor Bayne play. They have been nothing but surprising to me this season, and you know, Sticky Ricky too. You know, they've definitely have come back a little bit this year at the Jack Roush garage, and they've definitely surprised some people. I know that, but you know, with a guy that's only $6,800, and as A-Dub said, every single race he's scored points in the 30 points. And I have no doubt in my mind that this car is going to finish in the top 17 just based on what they've done so far in 2017. But also, too, look where Sticky Ricky's starting. He's starting in the 4th position. So they are going to have some speed on that team. And you know, his last 2 finishes here were 17th and 14th. So he's going to be right there in the 10 to 20 pack. So, and who knows, maybe some bold strategy could pay off, Cotton. We'll see. But I'm definitely going to be all over the Trevor Bayne play this weekend at the $6,800 price point, because you don't get much better than that.
You know my motto, boys. All aboard the Bayne train, right? Like, the kid's just on fire. Like, this is easily a top 15 car as long as it doesn't get tangled up in some crap. I think we've got easily a top 15 car starting back in the back and underpriced at $6,800. Once again, like this is a guy that we've been seeing his price raise into the sevens, and all of a sudden he's $300 cheaper than where he normally is, around the 7,100 mark. Now he's $6,800. It's an easy just plug and play, and in my opinion, where he's starting, and as good as these cars have been, this is another free square. I'll give you a hint. My lineups start with Bain and another value play coming up here in a second. All right, Liehr, who do you have for us for value?
Well, guys, I'm going to be picking the Furniture Row team. I'm going to continue my theme this weekend with the fantasy domination of Furniture Row with Eric Jones and the number 77 team. He's definitely been a surprise driver this season and currently is my rookie of the year, hands down, no doubt.
Yeah.
But granted, he has some of the best equipment in NASCAR, but this kid is very, very talented and is only getting better from week to week. But his cost this weekend is $8,100, and I know some people out there are like, that's not value, Liehr. But it really is. This weekend, Jones starts in the 20th position. And my bold prediction this weekend is that Jones gets his first top 5 on the Monster Cup series this weekend. He's going to be gobbling up those fastest laps along with place differential, and he'll be a must play this weekend for sure. This kid's done very well here at the Xfinity Series. He's raced here 4 times, and 3 of those he finished in the top 5, including a second place finish the last time he was here in the Xfinity Series. Although Jones spun out in the first practice yesterday, I like that because that means he's pushing his car to the edge and seeing what he can do and what he can't do. And I really like that for somebody that, of his caliber and that team, that he wants to try to see where he can push his car to and what the limits are of that vehicle. And he's going to be in Martin Truex's ear and getting what, that team's got as far as their strategy as well. But they were second fastest right behind the 78 team. So I look for both the Furniture Row vehicles this weekend to have a really, really good fantasy racing weekend and gobble up a bunch of fantasy points this weekend. So I'm all about the Eric Jones.
Wow. Lear's paying his penance for talking trash and sending Truex to the garage. Now he's just completely embraced Furniture Row racing this week. Just give it to me all. Bathe me in Furniture Row racing goodness. No, actually, dude, I don't have a problem with either one of these picks. Furniture Row racing is just fast and looks good, and Eric Jones has good track history here. My only problem is I know for a fact you guys gave me a lot of crap for recommending guys in the H range for value. I just think I should be able to throw a little bit back your way, but I like the pick, so I'm not going to. It is kind of a value in the sense of it. Even though he's only $1,000 less expensive than your Bernard Rubber guy, who's a dominator, but I don't.
But there's another thing to that though too. Is he is going to be, I think, a lower owning guy.
Jones, I don't know, man. If salaries were a little bit more tight this week, I could see that driving down ownership, but I just didn't see a reason that I had to tighten up and save money.
I'm a little bit biased when it comes to Eric Jones. I really enjoy the performance that this team has put off this season. I'm really, really impressed with, being able to start a new team and have this kind of success and run in the top 15 or run in the top 10, just like Eric Jones has done with this Furniture Row team. And I think having a teammate like Martin Truex Jr., who you can, share notes with and talk to and learn the fastest lines around these tracks. Martin Truex Jr. has been one of the most successful drivers on the circuit the past couple years. And having a young kid who can really lean on it, Martin Truex Jr., for advice has really done nothing but help Eric Jones. When the season first started, he wasn't really friends with Martin Truex Jr. He hadn't really talked to him before. But they've kind of each other out, and you've seen it on the track, the success that these two guys have had. They've actually been outperforming Gibbs most week, and that's saying something when you're getting your tools from a certain team and you're going out there and using those same tools to beat that team. And that's exactly what Furniture Row has been doing all season. I look from starting in the 20th position, I look for Eric Jones to easily get up into the top 12 and finish top 10, hopefully. He's running the GameStop Prey car, and I think he's going to be the predator you want on your lineup.
I don't know why, but when you were talking about their friendship, I got my buddy, my buddy, my buddy, my buddy and me. Thanks, Liehr. Liehr knew where I was going with that. All right, another guy that you guys are going to want to value up, in my opinion, is Almirola at 6,200. This is the home track for the 43 sponsor, Smithfield. Their site of operations is about 20 miles away. This is a big deal for the Smithfield company and for Petty Motorsports. Excuse me. He starts 25th, and you have to go back all the way to his first 2 races here to find a finish for him worse than that starting position. He also has a 24 to last fall. This play is just screaming value to me. I see this car being a top 15 car easily, and at $6,200, you can't go wrong. He's just a guy that's, once again, underpriced. And you know how I like to take advantage of underpriced drivers for my fantasy lineups. Your guys' thoughts. Hey, Dub.
There are certain tracks when you look at the track and you kind of think, what value driver can have a lot of success here? Maybe they haven't won, but they've kind of went under the radar and had decent success. Last weekend, that guy was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Everyone knew he was going to win this at Bristol, but he had a lot of success there. And when I think about Richmond, I just keep thinking about a couple years ago when Aric Almirola needed to win to make the chase. And on every late race restart, he just kept charging and charging and charging. And he brought that Waffle House car home 4th, I think, just like Poppa said. So the fact that you can get a 4th place finish potentially out of this race team is unheard of. And if he can do anything within the realm of a top 15, he's going to pay off his salary. So I think he's an easy plug-and-play guy. He's probably one of my favorite 3 or 4 value guys down at the bottom of the board. Just like a perfect lock and load to pair with your dominators. I just think it's an easy play. Aric Almirola knows how to get around this place, and that's not to be said about a lot of tracks.
Well, this weekend with the NFL draft, I have to do my best Mel Kiper. He's flying under the radar, that number 43 team. But no, this is definitely a value play, and he should be a play that everyone out there should be making, because if you look at his statistics here, he's got 10 races, every single one of them, except for the first 2. I mean, he's finished under that 25 position, and his average start is 21, and his average finish is 16th. So I don't know what it is about Richmond, and maybe it is the pressure of having the sponsor so close to that track. But they really, when the pressure's on here at Richmond, they really step up their game and bring the performance. So and at $6,200, you can't go wrong with taking a stab and taking a chance at plugging number 43 in your lineups. Can something happen? Yeah, but it's one of those situations to where if you look at the data here, I mean, everything points in the right direction for Aric Almirola to have a good performance this weekend. So that just means you probably shouldn't play him this weekend, right?
Did we just play back-to-back Erics?
I do believe we went Eric. So yeah. Eric part 2.
It's a good thing today's Leif Erikson Day.
You totally made that up, but no one will know the difference. So we'll roll with it. Leif Erikson Day it is. We wrapped up value. Time to go to the garage. This is everybody's favorite segment where we get to talk a little bit of trash on the drivers. Maybe we're talking trash on the teams, maybe the way the car is being set up. Maybe we're talking trash on the way DraftKings is priced, guys, or maybe we just don't like the driver. That's my personal reason to talk trash. Let's go, guys. Go to the garage. A-Dub, who you got for us, bud?
At Las Vegas Motor Speedway, they call the garage area the Neon Garage, but they're going to actually have to rename Richmond's garage after the race is over on Sunday, because it's going to be the Neon Garage for another reason, because it's going to have the neon yellow car of Paul Menard in the garage. I don't think that this guy's got the stuff this weekend. I haven't really seen it out of this team all season long. They've had a couple decent inside the late team, but Paul Menard starting 26th at 6,600. I'd rather play Trevor Bayne. I'd rather play Aric Almirola. I mean, I might have some exposure to Paul Menard, but if you're looking for a good value, I think that it just stands off the page that Paul Menard's so cheap, I think. And I think that people don't really realize this guy hasn't been performing, especially not at this track. This is one of his worst tracks on the circuit. So I know his salary is tempting, but I'm not going to really be playing Paul Menard this weekend. I have a lot of other places I want to look. If I'm going to play a guy at this price tag, like I said, I'll play Aric Almirola or Trevor Bayne. Dip down lower and play someone maybe like Landon Castle. But I just can't put any stock into Paul Menard. I just really haven't seen the performance out of this team. Even though his teammate Ryan Newman won a race earlier this season, I think Paul Menard's going to the garage. I think he'll bust the radiator out of it, and this team will be looking forward to next week.
Yeah, I'm not much of a Menard fan either, but yeah, as far as his performances here at Richmond, they haven't been stellar. The last time they were here, he was involved in a wreck and finished 40th, so he finished last. So, which, you know, some of those obviously are not out of their hands, but I just like other drivers this weekend, and as far as Paul Menard, you know, when was the last time that we actually recommended you go to Menards? I mean, it's just the store is great. The driver needs some refining because it has not been there for this Richard Childress team. And you know, I thought after that Newman win that, you know, maybe they were starting to move in the right direction. But you know, I know it's only been 8 races this year, but I still haven't seen you know, the performances from the 2017 that would make me think anything otherwise.
No, I mean, he's great value, great starting position. The problem is the mixed bag that he is. He's not as good a driver as he should be in that equipment. I would like to say, just like with this is a lock, plug and play, and like Almirola, but I can't do that because of how erratic Menard is as a driver. I like this pick to go to the garage. But with that said, when we like our garage picks, they usually win races or dominate. So Menard pulls it out of nowhere and dominates away. Now, Liehr, who do you got? Send to the garage, buddy.
Well, I'm going to be going with Chris Buescher. You know, they've had their ups and downs this 2017 season so far. Last week was definitely not a good week for the 3017 as they crashed out early, finishing with a negative 7 points. So he definitely crushed your fantasy lineups last week if you played him. But this week at Richmond, he doesn't get much better than that either. Buescher's cost is $6,400, which is down $300 from last week. But he's raced here 2 times on the Monster Cup Series. He started 33rd and finished 34th, started 31st and finished 24th. But his best finish here at Richmond was in the Xfinity Series when he went a 7-7. So this track has basically gotten the best of Buescher, and he still hasn't figured out quite how to handle it. So, and that trend will continue this weekend. My recommendation is definitely to avoid Buescher. You know, he's starting 23rd. There's only one direction that team's going to be moving, and that is further back into the field. And he's definitely not going to pay off that $6,400 salary. I know that people out there are going to say, well, he's $6,400 and he's going to be a good plug and play. And, you know, if he can just stay where he's at, then he's going to pay off. But that's the problem with him here is he's not going to stay there at the 23rd position. He's only going to go further back into the field. So, and obviously we can't predict wrecks or anything like that. But usually, you know, as a vehicle, like we were talking with Larson, you know, a trend with these drivers is they take the momentum from week to week and it goes into the next race. So unfortunately, they just don't have good momentum going into this weekend at Richmond. And it's not one of his best tracks.
I mean, dude, you guys know my love for Buescher. Like, I love playing him as value play. The problem is this week you don't have to make that value play. There are better options around that same price point that offer higher ceilings and have higher floors. Both, like, you get both those aspects by playing other guys. It's a no-brainer to me to not play Buescher this week.
This is a guy a handful of weeks ago who was $5,200 on DraftKings.
Right.
They've already bumped his price up to $6,400, and we were thinking when he was $5,200, like, this is a good value play. But even when his price started to get, you know, right there at $6K, we're like, already, I'm not really wanting to play Buescher anymore. He just seems to be a little wreck prone so far this year. And he also qualifies pretty good for the equipment. So he always seems to not give himself any potential to move up in the field because he usually qualifies better than he's going to potentially finish. And so it's just a play that I don't find myself making at all. I'm going to just go to the other guys that we talked about. And Jamie's right. Chris Buescher's just not the kind of guy you want to plug and play.
Sticky Ricky starting 4th is just somebody I've got to send to the garage. Like, even with so far this season, 4th place is well above the ceiling of those finishes and by about 4 spots. And I just see this car going backwards way, way further than 4 spots. He's already been in the wall twice during practice. Sticky Ricky, like, guys, he's due for a massive wreck, and it takes out a chunk of the field, right? Like, we're just at that point with Sticky Ricky. Like, you are on borrowed time, as I like to say with Sticky Ricky. And, like, last week, I understand he still dominated, and I told you to send him to the garage, and he was on winning lineups. But, guys, this trend cannot continue with this guy. He hits the wall and other cars way too much. But, you know, I'm going to stick with it and keep telling you to fade Sticky Ricky, especially when he overqualifies fourth like that. A-Dub?
That's the really interesting thing about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It's been 2017, and it's honestly been throughout a lot of his career. He qualifies really good, be able to hang up there all day once the faster cars get up there and their tire pressures start to come up. And you're always going to have those superstars who qualify far back in the field. If you look at Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Larson, there's a couple of Denny Hamlin, a few guys who are going to be probably top 10 that just have to get up there first. And Ricky's probably going to be one of the sacrificial lambs that takes away one of their top 10 spots. So I think that, you know, Ricky hit the wall last weekend twice. He hit the wall, and he got a top 10. He's already hit the wall twice this weekend. Maybe he'll get a top 10 again this weekend. I just don't see it working out like that. Like Poppa said, he's probably due for a wreck with his girlfriend, and they'll move on to the next weekend. It seems like they haven't gotten involved in – well, I guess at Martinsville, they did get Chris Buescher in the middle of their relationship.
And Danica was the one that got to bow out. Like, somehow Stenhouse made it back in. Liehr?
Well, surprisingly enough, fellas, you know, we talked about Trevor Bayne being a value play. I don't have quite the problem with playing the Ricky Stenhouse aspect of it this weekend as I've had in the past, because they've actually performed fairly well this 2017 season.
Bro, he's qualified for.
Hold on. Let me get there. And this is where I'm coming from is he costs $7,000, okay? And let's just say he hangs out in the top 8 for the whole entire day. Now, I know that a lot of people will look at it and say there's no chance that that's going to happen. But if it does, you know, based on where he's starting at and the points that he'll get from that, I mean, at that price point, that makes him worth a play. In my opinion, yeah. I mean, will I be playing a ton of Ricky Stenhouse? No, I won't. But will I have maybe 2 to 3 of them? Yeah, maybe. Because it's just one of those situations to where they've proven over these last couple races that, you know, Roush Fenway is back up on the uppity up, and definitely with qualifying fourth. It's just like a handful of weeks ago when we had Ryan Blaney, you know, starting in the 3rd spot, and everybody was like, "No, I'm not going to play Blaney." And what did he do? He went out and, you know, led over 100 laps. I'm not saying Ricky Stenhouse is going to go out and lead laps this weekend, but you know, I definitely think that you do have to have just a minuscule amount of exposure to Ricky Stenhouse, just based on what he's done the last couple of weeks, because he's taken that momentum and he's obviously taken it into a 4th qualifying position this weekend.
Roush Fenway Racing is my favorite team, and if I made 100 lineups, I wouldn't have Ricky Stenhouse on any of them. So I'm glad Jamie believes in him more than I do.
No, I'm with you, dude, and this has been the problem. There's zero chance I will ever put Ricky Stenhouse on any of my lineups this week. Like, you could give me 150 and bankroll me, and I'm not going to put that car starting 4th. If we assume that he even finishes 8th, that's -4 place differential automatically, and that then assumes that there's nobody coming from the back forward or nobody dominating that are scoring more than 34 points. And I like the 34 at his value, but there are better options that I don't have to worry about running positive the entire race and being a top 10 car. That's not a top 10 car. I love what Roush Fenway is doing, and they're brinking on the top 10, right? Like, they keep hanging out in that 15 to 9 range. But, dude, like, Sticky Ricky starting 4th, like, you are smoking crack rock if you think, like, that's a legitimate play. And, I mean, anything other than, like, a 1% super fade if I had 150 lineups swerve. Come on, Liehr.
They keep hanging it around and hanging it around. Kid's got alligator blood.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's from a poker movie. If if you like Matt Damon and he played poker,
Oh, okay.
You guys can figure it out which movie
Speaking of movies, am I the only one that every time someone says Richmond, I think of Coach Carter, where he's like, Rich what?
All right, race fans, now is the time of the segment where we put together a lineup. Remember, this isn't for you to copy or cut and paste. This is just to give you an idea of the proper process of putting a lineup together. Liehr, kick us off this week, man. Where are we starting? I'm guessing with good old Truex and Furniture Row. Yeah, I figured as much.
The number 7-8, baby.
Extreme value at 9,100.
Baby!
A-Dub, where you want us to go, bro?
Well, she says Truex will be burning the rubber, but I'm going to take the guy who's been burning rubber all season long and no one's been able to keep up with him. I'm going to take the points leader.
42.
Right. Spend all the money.
Taking Kyle Larson. He's also running double duty this week, and we've seen when he runs double duty, he really is dirty on tracks. I really like that play. It's solid. Guys, let's roll my can't miss play in Austin Dillon. That way I can't screw up this lineup.
There you go.
So you're saying the pattern is not full this weekend?
No, the pattern's not full. You can buzz the tower.
There's an open spot.
Austin Dillon's going to buzz the tower. It's going to be great. Liehr, where do you want us to go next, man?
Honestly, I know based on, like we talked about earlier, we talked about trends and momentum in this sport. I don't know how you cannot play the number 48 team and Jimmy Johnson starting from the 17th position with the way that they've performed the last handful of weeks. That team's just got it going on right now compared to where they were starting out this season where people were questioning Jimmy Johnson. So I definitely think you got to go Jimmy.
Big time agree there, Jamie. We've probably not done as good of a job as we should have about talking about Jimmy Johnson and the success they've had so far this season.
Yeah.
Really, really impressive comeback win for that team after they were not the best car all race long. They got that car really dialed in and really impressing people. So I really like the Jimmy Johnson play. If you're gonna stick your neck out there on a Dominator, he's a pretty good guy to take the risk on.
Well, it also doesn't hurt matters when the top two cars get pit penalties in the last couple of pit stops.
Yeah.
that also helped Jimmy Johnson just a little bit. A-Dub, where do you want to go, man? Because Liehr spin up a little bit. We've got 66.50 per driver remaining.
That's just enough to play Trevor Bayne, it looks like.
You know what? I believe it is exactly enough to play Trevor Bayne. And then it's enough to play my Almirola play right afterwards. So I'm just going to executively throw Almirola in there. Anybody have a problem with that?
No.
All right, so that lineup is Truex, Larson, Dillon, Johnson, Bayne, Almirola, and at least 300 on the board. I think that's a really good lineup, guys. It has the ability to move in GPPs, depending on ownership. But every time you try to figure out ownership in NASCAR, you're wrong. So, right?
That is very true.
All right. With that said, guys, let's go ahead and say our goodbyes and get out of here. A-Dub.
Thanks, everyone, for the opportunity to bring this show to you guys every single week. We love doing it for you guys for simply nothing but the love of the love we have for this sport. We don't get paid to do this. We get paid by the comments and interaction that we have with you guys on Twitter. So keep it coming. Let us know if you guys have any questions. Keep commenting on the video. Let's keep making sure we get that view count up there. It's just going to be more motivation for us to want to keep doing this show. But again, good luck to everyone in Richmond. Hopefully, Dale Earnhardt Jr. can have a successful ride to the end of the season. I want to thank him again for a great career, and NASCAR would not be the same without him.
Thanks, guys, for watching. As always, appreciate it week to week. Best of luck this weekend. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. There should be some really, really good racing going on at the Richmond Raceway. So, got all moved in and looking forward to getting all my stuff away. I'm in my new office here, so ready to get some stuff up on the walls and get it all taken care of. But otherwise, best of luck. Comment on the show. We love to interact with you guys. It was just a little bit of an anomaly last week with A-Dub being out and myself moving. So, Big Poppa Pump was the only one that was commenting on the show. So, but that'll change this weekend. So shoot us your questions and we'll definitely respond. And hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. And thank you, Dale, for everything. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you do. Get the show out there and more people. So more people can enjoy the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR show. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Let's win some money this week for a change. Let's get back on it. Good luck, everybody. Have a good one.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Ride the Bane train.